Breaking news. Ukraine's Nemesis Brigade destroys a Russian S-300V 9A-84 launcher loader in a mid-range strike. It is Monday, January 20, 2026, and the reports we're seeing this morning, well, they suggest we're watching a really pivotal shift in the balance of air power. That supposed invincible shield has been cracked again. Subscribe to Defense Reports, your go-to source for timely, in-depth military and defense reports. I'm Alex. Join me with Arya in the latest Deep Dive by Defense Report for sharp, no-nonsense breakdowns of the latest in global defense news, military technology, and strategic developments. And today, we are going to cover what some are calling the Nemesis effect. We're looking at how Ukraine's 412th Unmanned Systems Brigade, the Nemesis unit, has been systematically, dismantling Russia's most advanced air defense network. Hold on, because the headline is really just the tip of the iceberg. The real story here isn't just about things blowing up. It's about a mystery that is currently baffling military analysts. We have confirmed kills of these top-tier systems, but the footage, it's gone dark. The Nemesis Brigade is hiding how they're pulling off these deep strikes and the implications. They suggest a leap in technology that nobody saw coming this fast. We are talking about solving the problem of operational depth with tech that costs a tiny fraction of the targets it destroys, so buckle up. We are going to analyze how the balance of power is shifting from these massive, multi-million-dollar missile batteries to what experts are calling affordable precision mass. Let's get into the details of the strike that just happened today.
It really is a fascinating morning. For those of us tracking the evolution of this conflict, this strike on the S-300V isn't just another tactical win for Ukraine. It feels like a strategic statement.
So let's unpack the specifics for everyone. Today, January 20th, reports confirmed the Nemesis Brigade's mid-range strike unit hit and destroyed a 9A-84 launcher loader. Now, to the average person, 9A-84 just sounds like a random serial number. Why is taking out this specific piece of equipment such a big deal?
It does sound pretty dry on paper, but you really have to visualize this thing. The 9A-84 is an absolute monster. It's a cracked vehicle built on a heavy chassis, and it weighs in at about 47 tons. This is not just a truck.
Right, and it's a critical node in the S-300V system.
Exactly. The most critical, some would argue.
And the S-300V, that's the heavy hitter, isn't it? This isn't for shooting down little hobby drones.
No. Absolutely not. The S-300V is the top-tier shield. It was designed specifically to shoot down things like ballistic missiles and high-speed aircraft. It is the system that's supposed to protect everything else. And this 9A-84, it's the launcher loader. It carries two massive surface-to-air missiles. We are talking 6 tons each, but it also has a heavy crane on board.
A crane. So it's basically the logistics hub for the entire battery.
Precisely. Its main job is to reload the other launchers. So think about it. If you destroy a radar, the battery goes blind. But if you destroy the loader, the battery goes dry.
Ah, okay.
Once the other launchers fire their ready missiles, they're useless. Without the 9A-84 to reload them, they can't fight. It completely disrupts the whole logistical cycle.
So by taking out this one vehicle, you essentially brick the whole $40 million system.
You neutralize it. And you have to remember, these assets are usually hidden deep behind the front lines. They're high-value targets, so the Russians keep them way back, supposedly safe from standard artillery or those short-range FPV drones we see so often.
Which makes the how of this even more interesting. But before we get to the tech, let's talk about the who, the 412th Nemesis Brigade. I mean, that name alone sounds like it was written for a movie script.
And their track record is very real. It's incredibly impressive. This unit has had just a meteoric rise. They started as a separate battalion back in December 2023. They were so effective that by November 2025, so just 2 months ago, they were expanded into a full brigade. They also integrated the Asgard FPV group, which brought in a ton of specialized experience.
I was looking at the scorecard that Uconform released today. The numbers are just hard to believe. In 1 year, this single unit has destroyed 100 Russian tanks.
100. And that is just the armor. What really stands out to me is their target selection. They prioritize these high-value assets. They're hunting air defense, electronic warfare systems, self-propelled artillery. They aren't just looking for easy kills.
No, they're looking for the systems that hurt Ukraine the most.
Exactly. And they're doing it at an accelerating rate. The stats for this winter alone are just wild.
Between December 2025 and today, January 20th, they've destroyed $250 million worth of Russian air defense.
In roughly 6 weeks. And we aren't talking about old Soviet relics rusting in a field here. They are hitting S-350 Vityaz systems, Tor-M2s, Buk-M3s. These are modern, complex systems designed specifically to deny the airspace.
This is where I want to talk about the economics. because the disparity here is just mind-blowing. I ran the numbers. A Russian tank costs anywhere from, what, $2 to $4.3 million? A Buck M3 air defense system is around $45 million, and the drone Nemesis used to kill it.
You're probably looking at a price tag of around maybe $25,000.
That is just, it's broken math. You are trading a $25,000 asset for a $45 million asset.
It is the very definition of asymmetry. There is no economy in the world, certainly not a sanctioned one, that can sustain that kind of attrition rate indefinitely. You are bleeding millions of dollars to stop pennies.
But it's not just about the money, is it? It feels like there's a deeper doctrinal failure here on the Russian side.
That's a great point. And if we look at the analysis from the CNA, they're a nonprofit research group that studies this stuff deeply, they highlight this historical bet that Russia made. For decades, Russia bet against air power.
What do you mean by that? Against air power?
Well, while the U.S. and NATO were focused on building these incredible fighter jets, air dominance, Russia focused on ground-based air defense, systems like the S-300, S-400, the Panzer. They believed that a strong shield on the ground would always dominate manned aircraft.
And to be fair, in this war, that bet, it sort of paid off, didn't it? We haven't seen Ukrainian F-16s or Russian Su-35s roaming freely deep over enemy territory.
Exactly. The air defense is just too thick. They won the bet against the manned aircraft. Both sides really struggle to fly jets. But here's the irony. Russia won the bet against the plane, but they're losing the bet against the drone.
Because the shield itself has become the primary target.
Precisely. The S-300V is designed to track and kill a hypersonic missile, moving at Mach 5 or 6. It's designed to spot a bomber at 30,000 feet. It is not designed to engage a small plastic and carbon fiber drone flying 10 feet above the treetops at 100 miles per hour.
We saw those reports earlier this month on January 5th where Nemesis took out a 9S-32 radar. The operators call it the brain of the S-300V. So without that, the missiles are just giant metal tubes, right?
Right. And what's tragic for the Russian crews, and a real testament to Ukrainian adaptability, is that Russia is trying to adapt, but they're failing. We've seen them welding those hoods or cages onto tanks, and now they're trying to put them on radars. They're bolting small caliber guns to these missile trucks.
But you can't really put a cage on a spinning radar dish.
You can't. Physics is physics. To work, that radar has to emit massive amounts of energy. It has to scream electronically to see anything, and that just makes it a beacon. It's like turning on a spotlight in a dark room. Everyone knows exactly where you are. They're failing to hide these massive systems from Ukrainian reconnaissance.
Which brings us to what you call this strategic gap. Because hitting a tank near the trench line is one thing. Hitting a logistical hub or an S-300V deep in the rear, that's a totally different problem.
This is crucial. The Rabdan Security and Defense Institute calls this the problem of operational depth. Think of the battlefield in layers. From 0 to about 40 kilometers deep, you have what they call the death zone. That's covered by artillery and those terrifying FPV suicide drones.
Right. If you're in that 40-kilometer zone, you are being watched, and you are probably being shot at.
Then you have the deep rear 300 kilometers plus. That gets targeted by the big missiles like ATCMS or Storm Shadows. But those missiles cost over $1 million each. They're scarce. You can't use $1 million missile to blow up every single supply truck or radar unit.
So you end up with this gap, this 30 to 300-kilometer zone.
Exactly, that middle ground. And that is where the enemy hides their logistics, their command centers, and these expensive air defense batteries. They sit there thinking, we're out of range of the small drones, and we aren't important enough for a Storm Shadow.
They thought they were in the safe zone.
And for a while, they were. But Ukraine has filled that gap with what the Rabdan Institute calls affordable precision mass.
Affordable precision mass. I like that term. It sounds almost industrial.
It is industrial. We're talking about mid-range, one-way strike UAVs. Ukraine isn't just using quadcopters anymore. They're using jet-powered drones that can fly anywhere from 250 kilometers per hour up to almost Mach 0.9. And they can carry a payload of 10 to 30 kilograms.
Which is more than enough to destroy a delicate radar or set off a fuel truck.
Oh, plenty. And the key word there is mass. They can swarm these targets. If you send 5 drones that cost, say, $20,000 each, and the Russian battery manages to shoot them all down, well, the interceptor missile they used likely cost $1 million.
So you win the economic exchange even if you lose the drone.
You absolutely win the exchange. You deplete their magazines. And eventually, one of those drones gets through. That is exactly what we are seeing today with the destruction of that S-300V loader. It's a numbers game, and Ukraine has figured out how to rig the odds in their favor.
Speaking of things getting through, this brings us to that mystery I mentioned at the top of the show. Typically, Ukrainian units, and especially elite ones like Nemesis, they are very good at the information war. They post the bada boom videos almost immediately. It boosts morale. It shows their donors' results.
You do. It's a key part of modern warfare.
Yeah.
It's that mindset of, if you don't have video, did it even happen?
But looking at the reports from Defense Express about strikes back in September 2025 and now this one in January 2026, there is a clear pattern emerging. Nemesis is reporting the kills like the S-300V today, but they're not releasing the footage.
That silence is incredibly loud here.
So what do you think is going on? Why hide the proof if you have it?
This just reeks of operational security protecting a new capability. I mean, think about it. If you release the video, you are giving the enemy valuable data. You show them the angle of attack, you show them the resolution of the camera, and most importantly, you might reveal how the drone is finding its target.
You mean whether it's a human flying it or a computer?
Exactly. We know Russia uses massive electronic warfare systems to jam signals. Usually when a drone flies into a jamming dome, it loses connection and just falls out of the sky. But what if these drones are using AI, onboard optical navigation? Then they don't need a signal.
They have a brain on board.
They have a database of shapes. The drone sees the S-300, recognizes the silhouette from its memory, and dives on it. No pilot needed. If Nemesis is keeping the footage secret, it is very likely because they don't want Russia to know that their jamming is no longer effective. They don't want to tip their hand on how smart these new robots have become.
That is a terrifying evolution for the guys sitting in those radar tracks. We are also seeing these reports from social media, Reddit and Telegram, about strikes hitting even deeper. There's talk of strikes over 100 kilometers behind the front lines. They're hitting Prima P-18 radars and Tunguska systems.
And that just confirms that the strategic gap is closing. And it's closing fast, 100 kilometers deep. That means there is effectively no safe harbor left for Russian equipment in occupied territory. If you park it, Nemesis will find it. And if they find it, the economics say you just can't afford to defend it.
It really feels like we're watching a turning point in military history, just happening in real time. You have these massive legacy systems, the pride of the Soviet and Russian military-industrial complex, being picked apart by technology that frankly looks like it was built in a high-tech garage.
It's the democratization of precision strike. 10 years ago, you needed a billion-dollar air force to achieve this kind of deep reach. Today, Ukraine is proving you need a brigade of smart engineers, some 3D printers, and a few thousand drones.
So if we look at the big picture here, what does this all mean for the future of warfare?
It means the economics of war have been completely rewritten. Ukraine isn't just fighting harder, they're fighting so much smarter. They are leveraging that cost asymmetry to bleed a much larger adversary dry. The Nemesis Brigade is proving that an expensive static defense just cannot survive against cheap, numerous, and precise robotic attackers.
And that leads me to the big question, the one I want our listeners to really think about as they go about their day.
Go for it.
If a $40 million system designed to shoot down hypersonic missiles, the absolute pinnacle of defensive tech, can be destroyed by a $25,000 drone made in a workshop, are we looking at the end of the era of the heavy tank and the massive air defense battery? Are these things just becoming expensive coffins?
That is the question every general in NATO is asking themselves right now. And looking at the smoking remains of that S-300V in Ukraine today, the answer might very well be yes.
It is a sobering thought, but one that really highlights the incredible resilience and innovation of the Ukrainian Defense Forces. We'll be watching very closely to see if Nemesis ever releases that footage and what new tech might be lurking in the skies. You've been listening to Defense Report by Alex and Aria, where we analyze the latest in military strategy, global defense, and advanced weaponry. Subscribe to Defense Reports, your go-to source for timely, in-depth military and defense reports. We'll catch you next time.